A stranger kept appearing everywhere I went, at the bus stop, the cafe, even outside my home. I thought it was coincidence, until he looked at me one night and whispered, "You saved my life once. You just don't remember." I had helped him years ago without knowing who he was. Now he's back obsessed, devoted and determined never to lose me again. Asterisk, but destiny has a secret. The stranger I rescued might be the one meant to save me. Asterisk, if someone had told me a year ago that a complete stranger would walk into my life, flip it upside down, and become the one person I couldn't imagine living without, I would have laughed. Asterisk, I wasn't ready for anything. Not love, not companionship, not even a friendly connection. My life at that point was a careful arrangement of routines, silence, and a loneliness I had learned to make peace with. Asterisk, but that was before him. Asterisk, before the stranger who didn't simply come into my life. He saw me. I first noticed him at the bus stop outside my workplace. Not because he was exceptionally handsome, though he was, but because he looked at me as if he recognized me. I remember standing there, clutching my bag, waiting for the 6:40 p.m. bus, when he approached and said, "Asterisk, you dropped this." I looked down. It was a small silver pen, but it wasn't mine. "I think you're mistaken," I said, offering a polite smile. He returned a look that was strangely soft, yet determined. "I'm not." Asterisk, I felt a chill, a strange, inexplicable sense of familiarity, but brushed it off. Maybe he mistook me for someone else. He simply smiled, nodded, and walked away. I didn't know then that this moment was the beginning of everything. For the next week, I kept seeing him at the bus stop, in the grocery store, asterisk, at the small cafe across the street from my office. Asterisk, he never approached me again. He merely smiled, as if silently acknowledging my presence. It was strange, but not threatening. A little odd, but somehow comforting. Asterisk, one evening, as I stood outside the cafe waiting for my order, I felt someone step beside me. It was him. "You're here again," he said softly. Asterisk, I raised an eyebrow. "You make it sound like I'm the one following you." Asterisk, he laughed a warm, deep sound that tugged at a buried part of me. Asterisk, that would be interesting, he said, eyes twinkling. Asterisk, but I've been here longer. We talked for an hour. Asterisk, not about anything extraordinary, just simple things. His name was Arav. He lived 2 streets away from me. Asterisk, he worked as a freelance artist. Asterisk, there was something calming in the way he spoke, something sincere in the way he listened. Asterisk, it had been a long time since someone had made me feel seen. Days passed. Conversations became more frequent. Smiles became warmer. Yet there was always something mysterious about him, a depth in his eyes that made it seem like he was carrying 1,000 untold stories. Asterisk, one rainy evening, as I struggled with my umbrella, he appeared out of nowhere and held it over me. "You'll catch a cold," he said. I looked at him, startled. Asterisk, how did you know I'd be here at this time? His expression shifted, just a flicker. Lucky guess. But I knew that wasn't true. There were too many coincidences, too many perfectly timed appearances. "You show up everywhere I go," I whispered. He looked straight into my eyes. "The rain falling softly between us. Asterisk, because I don't want you to ever feel alone again." My breath caught. Something in his voice, his eyes, made my heart tremble. Asterisk, it wasn't obsession, not in the scary, overwhelming sense. It was devotion, a kind I had never witnessed before. But why? We grew closer. He walked me home, brought me coffee, sat with me at the bus stop, even when he didn't need to go anywhere. One day, curiosity overtook me. "Arav," I asked, asterisk, "why me?" You barely knew me when you first approached. Why do you care so much?" He froze. For the first time since I met him, he looked away. "It's complicated," he murmured. "I have time," I encouraged. Asterisk, he sighed deeply, then finally said words that hit me like a storm. Asterisk, because I knew you. Long before you knew me. I stared at him, confused. He continued quietly. Asterisk, years ago. You helped someone who felt invisible. Someone who was struggling. You might not remember it, but you saved a life that day. My throat tightened. What do you mean? He looked into my eyes with a heartbreaking softness. Mine. And then he told me. 3 years ago. He had been sitting on the edge of an old bridge. Broken. Hopeless. Ready to give up. I was on my way home from work. Crying after yet another bad day. Asterisk, I didn't notice him at first. Just walked past him. Asterisk, but then I had stopped. Something told me to go back. I remembered, faintly, talking to a tearful stranger that evening, telling him, Asterisk, whatever you're going through, you matter. You really do. I hadn't thought much of it. I was hurting too. Asterisk, maybe I said it to myself more than I said it to him. But to him, it had been everything. Asterisk, that night, he whispered. Asterisk, you pulled someone back from the edge literally and emotionally. I didn't even ask your name. I thought I'd never see you again. His fingers trembled. But when I saw you at the bus stop 3 months ago, I knew I could never forget your face. I stood frozen, a stranger I had comforted during my darkest days. Asterisk was the same stranger who appeared out of nowhere in my life now. No wonder he looked at me as if I was familiar. No wonder he felt connected to me before we even spoke. Tears filled my eyes. Arav, why didn't you tell me before? He smiled sadly. Because I didn't want to burden you with what I felt. You didn't owe me anything. I just wanted to be there, even from a distance, to protect the person who saved me without even knowing my name. Asterisk, my heart ached in the most beautiful, painful way. He wasn't obsessed with me. He was grateful. Asterisk, deeply, irrevocably grateful. Asterisk, grateful enough to stay close to the person who unknowingly gave him a second chance at life. Asterisk, after knowing the truth, something inside me shifted. I began looking at him differently. Not as a stranger. Asterisk, not as someone who randomly appeared in my life. Asterisk, but as someone whose life had once been tied to mine in a way fate itself couldn't explain. Asterisk, our bond grew stronger naturally, gently, beautifully. Asterisk, one evening, as we sat on the same bridge where our lives first crossed, he said, Asterisk, I know I didn't plan it this way, but every day I find myself a little more drawn to you. I try to stop myself, but I placed my hand over his. Don't, I said softly. I don't want you to. Asterisk, he looked at me, shocked. I smiled through tears. You think you're obsessed with me, Arav, but I think maybe we were meant to find each other. His voice trembled. Are you sure? I don't want to overwhelm you. You didn't overwhelm me, I whispered. You healed me. One quiet moment at a time. His eyes glistened, tentatively. He reached up and brushed a tear from my cheek. Asterisk, that night, under the dim glow of streetlights, we shared a moment that felt like destiny had finally taken a breath. Asterisk. The weeks that followed were filled with small miracles. He painted me, not literally, but through little sketches he left on my desk. Asterisk, drawings of moments I didn't realize he treasured. Asterisk, he listened to every word I said, and every word I didn't. He brought warmth to places inside me I thought were permanently frozen. He loved me so gently, it felt like breathing. One night, as I stood on my balcony, staring at the stars, He wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. Asterisk, you deserve someone who will choose you, he said quietly. Asterisk, every single day. Asterisk, I leaned my head against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. Asterisk, and I choose you, I whispered. The way he held me then, as if I was something precious he was afraid to lose, was the moment I realized, sometimes, the people we save end up saving us right back. Our relationship bloomed slowly, beautifully. He was still protective, still attentive, asterisk, still a little obsessed in his own gentle way, asterisk, but it was never suffocating. It was never unhealthy. It was devotion born from a moment that changed both our lives without either of us realizing it. Asterisk, one evening, as we walked hand in hand, he stopped suddenly and looked into my eyes. Asterisk, I know I showed up in your life unexpectedly, he said softly. Asterisk, but I will spend the rest of my days trying to deserve the place you've given me. Asterisk, I smiled, feeling tears prick my eyes. Asterisk, Arav, I whispered. Asterisk, you had a place in my life long before you ever walked into it. Asterisk, he pulled me into his arms, holding me as if protecting something fragile, and I realized a stranger had come into my life, not by coincidence, not by accident, asterisk, but because fate decided we both needed each other. Asterisk, his obsession wasn't madness. Asterisk, it was love wearing the disguise of gratitude, devotion, and destiny. Asterisk, a love that began with a single moment of kindness. Asterisk, and blossomed into something eternal.